Hello, good afternoon, my fellow government bureaucrats. I am making this video. This is the first of many of a Friday update. Um, just sort of some of the things that have happened over the past week. So there might be a few things from the prior week on this one because it's the first. But we hope to see these every week. So, yeah, today, Friday, May 22nd. And let's see. So, the AFGE, the union, we have had a number of wins over the last week. Firstly, our CBA continued to be defended. We had a win in the First Circuit Court. The agency was pushing for a stay of that preliminary injunction that has brought our CBA back. That's the preliminary injunction from March 13th. So the agency was hoping to put a pause in that, and that was denied. So that's a major win for us. CBA is still in effect. Additionally, the agency's been doing some, well, actually, not even necessarily the agency, the FMCS, which is the Federal Mediation and Conciliatory Service. I mostly know them by their acronym, but they're the folks that give us the arbitrators. They issued a memo in April essentially stating that they were going to request for consent from the VA before they issued a panel of arbitrators. So, which goes against the very reason for the FMCS to exist. So, in that memo, they did not address the portions of law that mandate that they give those arbitration panels. So they kind of missed some pretty big steps, and legal action was filed related to that. So that's another piece of good news that we're excited about. And so right now for our local. So that was some national news. For our local, we still have our reasonable accommodation grievance moving forward, and then our sick leave that also includes a little bit about credit hours. Those both are at arbitration right now. So those were in before they gave us some headache about issuing the arbitration panel. So that's already that's already moving forward. So those are still moving forward. The National VA Council, NVAC, they are taking lead on those arbitrations. So, and then another thing here at our local, we recently had a couple of grievances related to leave without pay, specifically if you're a disabled veteran. So there is, we had to go back into the archives for this one. There's an executive order from 1930. I think it was Hoover, President Hoover, that, or maybe Harding, sorry. Regardless, a long time ago, that gave disabled veterans, if you're getting medical treatment, your leave without pay request can't be denied. So generally, the agency has the ability to approve or deny leave without pay requests, but there's a few exceptions. And one of those notable exceptions is if you're a disabled veteran for medical treatment. So if you need that, it really is kind of a niche market, so to speak. It's only, it's generally for folks that have exhausted their FMLA. But, you know, if you have other reasons that you might want to use leave without pay, you can. We've not now gotten confirmation from the agency about that. So if you need that, just when you're putting in that leave without pay request, make sure you mention Article 35 of the CBA, Article 35, Section 10.F1. All right? And we'll have some written guidance that'll come out. So we also have a grievance at our station about a sick leave memo. Just the way that the agency has been looking at sick leave, we view to be incorrect. The way that abuse is being defined, they're from our perspective, they're just defining the use of sick leave as abuse of sick leave. We don't agree with that. So we have an ongoing memo. We're waiting on a decision from that. And then also on Tuesday, we filed our first group grievance related to the reasonable accommodations. So we generally have been moving people into the EEO provision for the reasonable accommodation denials. But our latest strategy is we have the same protections and the same law, the way our contract's written. We can use that same EEO law and use that law under a grievance. So one of the main reasons we're doing that is speed. The EEO provisions, they can be settled at any point in the process. So that's what, but if they're not settled, they can take a while, 2 to 3 to maybe even 4 years. With the grievance, that's much faster. So that's, in the 3 to 4 month range, depending on when we get an arbitrator panel all set up. But regardless, even kind of in a long run of it, less than a year. So we filed our first group grievance related to that. So pretty excited about that, a new portion of our strategy. Also attended the safety committee for the station this week. And so, stay tuned for more info about that. If you have any safety concerns, especially my public contact folks, reach out, and we'll just make sure that all those things are being addressed. So the agency does take that seriously, and but now we're part of that committee, the union is. So I'm your voice there. So if you have some concerns, bring them to me, and then I'll push them forward. So also we received a little bit of tweaked guidance about the reasonable accommodation in how we submit the requests that may help some folks. And so one of the tips we got is to submit your medical all at once. So if you have, if you're waiting on medical and you need some, and you have just a little bit, it's best not to submit it what you have. Wait till you accumulate all that you have and then submit it at once. That will help you go through the process faster. Also, we're hearing that, we're knowing that the decision making official, right, the DMO, they can approve up to 8 weeks of remote telework accommodation. So if that's an accommodation that you need, it may be prudent. What our recommendation is, this sort of new guidance, is instead of just asking for permanent, is to ask for that 8 week. So that's something then that the level that you're interacting with, the DMO, they can approve on their own. Longer than 8 week, they have to send up higher to get an up or down approval or denial. So what our guidance is, what we're hoping to see, is we just make that a slightly tweaked request for just 8 weeks, and then you can do it again as that 8 week is coming due. So while we're working in the background to get the whole issue resolved, in the meantime, that may offer some relief to people. So you get 8 weeks and then hopefully kick it for another 8 weeks, and but we're hoping within 2 months, a lot of these things will be settled. And then as far as your medical, we've received more, just another reminder, I think we've shared this before, but we got a list now. It helps if it's detailed, and it should include your condition, limitations, treatment that's being offered to you, and then a why for the 8 weeks. So that's from your doctor. So those 4 things: condition, limitations, treatment, and why they want for the length of time they do. So that may be able to help. And let's see. Oh, and so the next big issues that we're pushing on are folks over in VR&E. We have a grievance forthcoming for a lot of the work conditions that are happening for the VR&E folks. That's the next big thing. And then additionally, leave, annual leave. So like I mentioned, we had that sick leave grievance that's at arbitration. The next that we really are focusing our attention on is annual leave. So we have a grievance in there already. What we can use from you all is send follow-up requests. If it's been a long time since you've heard about your, you made a request for leave or you put in a leave request and you haven't heard and it's been months, send a follow-up request to find out the status. If you don't hear anything, or if the answer is nonsense, let us know and we can file a grievance. One of the things that the contract calls for is timely decisions. So we can continue, that's one way that we can begin the conversation about how annual leave is being treated. And then if it's denied, another thing the contract calls for is a reason why. So we're asking you to ask, if you're getting denied with your annual leave, to ask what are the specific operational requirements that are preventing you from getting that leave approved. So what we're seeing is some generic reasoning from the agency saying, they're just using the phrase operational requirements, but that's meaningless. I mean, which ones? There's a lot of requirements, and different sections have different operational requirements. So just to say operational requirements, that's a meaningless phrase. So what are the requirements that you have that are keeping you from approving this leave? And then in addition, the contract also calls for a maximizing of the amount of people that can be off on leave at any time. So part of the reason we're asking about those operational requirements is because how are they looking at those requirements, right? There's certain things like availability rate, 80%. So how are they calculating that 80%? The contract calls for the maximum amount of people to be off at any given time. So we want to ensure that that they're calculating it in such a way that maximizes, as the contract requires, the number of people to be off. So the action from you, that was a lot of narrative explanation, but the tangible things you all can do if annual leave is important to you is send a follow-up if you haven't heard an answer. And then if you get a denial of some sort, ask why. So that's it for today. More to come, more of these to come. We're still going to be sending out those the written, the emails with guidance and updates. So, right, as we're getting more people on board, I'm getting more help and helpers. You guys are reaping the benefits because we're going to be having more flow of communication to you all. So, all right, have a lovely long weekend. Happy Memorial Day. A poignant and powerful weekend. Have a thoughtful Memorial Day. I hope you do something meaningful and really reflect on the cost of our freedoms. What it takes for us to have the kind of freedom that we have here in this great country that we live in. So, I hope you have something meaningful and thoughtful to do. And otherwise, I'll see you on Tuesday. All right.